Hi there, everyone. It's Darren from SimNation. Doing a quick recap video for WWPF, which of course is our Draft Day Sports Pro Football 25 League, which will move to 26 as soon as the season flips. Want to walk you through a couple of things. Not going to spend a whole lot of time on this. Since the last video, a couple things have changed within the league. Starfinder has resigned at Minnesota. He may be back, may not. But Minnesota's now open. If we look at the North, still kind of more the same, right? Superman in Detroit is starting to put some distance between himself and the rest of the pack. Green Bay, who is a CPU team, is right behind him, as is Cotton, who's at Chicago. The North is still very much up for grabs. Really don't see that changing. Carolina, they're inching closer and closer to clinching the number one seed within the South. They they're gonna clinch the number one seed. Let's just say put it that way. Invisible's having a really good season this year. He's won 10 straight. His team looks great. There's nothing really that you can pick apart there. Tampa Bay is doing pretty well. They are in the pursuit for a playoff spot, and that is much better than where they were probably a season ago. And a large part of that really has to do with, sorry, excuse me, has to do with Height, who is the really good, probably I think like second year quarterback now. But he has really started to come into his own, which is really good news for MBB Mets, who drafted him and took a chance with him. So definitely Tampa Bay is in the hunt. Dallas is starting to put some distance between them and the contenders in the East. Right now, Dallas is looking like the number two seed, and they're playing kind of like it. Templar's won three straight. He beat Udo just recently. Two German coaches going at it, and then of course you have Washington and New York, who are kind of in that hunt for the playoff spot. Barry's come back pretty dominant right now. Big concern for him is still his defense, but his offense is really putting up the points. You can see outside of Carolina, no one on in the NFC is scoring like him, and then only really two teams in the AFC are scoring more than him. If Barry can get through the rough patch coming up, we'll talk about that in a second. He should be in really good shape. Stuart has San Francisco humming for the most part. They did lose the last game, but San Francisco is very much in that hunt, and you can't count out Simon with Arizona. So if the playoffs started today, of course, Detroit would win the North, Carolina would win the South, Dallas would win the East, and LA or San Francisco would win the West. It would probably be San Francisco with Stewart because he has the division record. When we look at the AFC, Pittsburgh is still undefeated, one of only two teams. I will say that they're most likely not to be undefeated after this week. They're living, as you can tell by the points for and points against, they're living very much on a prayer from week to week. Cleveland finally lost the game, but Bio Eagles put together a great season with Cleveland, and they are looking very much like a playoff team. Houston is in the driver's seat right now, but don't expect that to stay for very long. Tennessee's starting to make a run, and Bama's starting to get his team performing the way I think he wants to. Jacksonville and Indianapolis are out of the race at this point. Indianapolis is, of course, fighting with Minnesota, New Orleans for that worst spot. They'll get the number one pick. The Jets did finally lose to Miami, but they are still moving at a pace that is astronomically well. Cavs got them running. They should win the East easily. They're still competing with Pittsburgh for the number one seed. Right now, it's a toss up between Miami and New England for the other spots in the playoffs. Still too early to tell, but New England's a little bit on the wrong path. Miami's a little bit on the right path, but we'll see how that builds out over the next few weeks. And then, of course, the West is Peterless. And as a result of that, no one really wants to win it. Right now, Oakland is in the driver's seat, but San Diego's right there. You're starting to see a little bit of sign of life coming out of Denver with Prince, but it's probably too little too late. So playoffs start today. Pittsburgh would be the 1, New York would be the 2, and then it would be Houston, Cleveland, and Miami. Of course, Oakland as well would be the playoff teams. But again, we're not quite there yet. So, and if you, of course, look, here's kind of that breakdown of who would be in if it was started today versus who would not. You'd see Cleveland and Miami, Tampa Bay and San Francisco. So it'll be interesting to see how this spans out over the next few weeks. Of course, if we look forward to this week, in week 12, you have Oakland versus Detroit. I kind of like Superman in this one. I think that he should win as long as he can shut down Oakland's passing attack with Adam Johnson. Denver versus Minnesota. This is should go Denver's way, especially since Starfinder's not at Minnesota anymore. So I like Prince in this one. This is SOA versus the CPU, Miami versus Atlanta. I like Miami in this one. I do think Miami's starting to finally come into their own. This is probably the matchup of the week. New York versus Carolina. If Miami hadn't beat Carolina like a week or two ago, this would have been a battle of undefeateds. Uh, I'm not going to pick this one. This one's too close to call. They both do many things well. I do think Carolina's secondary and defensive line is good enough to ice Herman, and we'll talk about him in a second. But Herman is just having a special season, so we'll see how that plays out. New England versus New Orleans. I like Shark in this one. He should beat New Orleans. Tampa Bay versus Buffalo. I like MBB Mets in this one. Tampa Bay should beat Buffalo. Dallas versus Houston. Templar should beat Houston. Indianapolis is versus New York. I do like DWK in this one. He should beat Indianapolis. Indianapolis will continue to be winless. Tennessee versus Philadelphia. This one's going to be pretty tight, but I do like Bama in it over Philadelphia. Cleveland versus Arizona. This is Bio versus Simon. Um, I'm gonna go out on a limb and say that Bio probably wins this one, but it's gonna be close, and Simon can prove me wrong quite easily. This would have been the other game of the week if it wasn't for Carolina versus New York. This is me versus Barry. I like Barry in this one. I think he'll win. Um, Pittsburgh has the speed in the secondary to keep up with Barry's wide receivers, but Pittsburgh is living very much on a very old running back right now. San Francisco versus Cincinnati. I like Stuart in this one over Cincinnati. Green Bay versus Kansas City, two CPU teams. I like Green Bay in this one over Kansas City. And then Baltimore versus Seattle. This one's Baltimore. If we look at the leaders real quick, you kind of get a sense of what I'm talking about. Is right now, Marvin Herman is just completely uh, showboating right now. He is really having a great season. He didn't have a good season last year. You can kind of see that. It wasn't horrible, but it wasn't probably quite the season that Kev wanted. So Kev went out and got him a bunch of wide receivers, and it's definitely showing. I mean, he has 41 touchdowns. Next closest is Adam Johnson, who's still benefiting probably from Peter's system. But the pass rating is off the charts. You can see that he's got like 15, well, it's 14 points on the next closest guy who's Shank. So he's only thrown one interception all season. As you can see here, 41 touchdowns, one interception. That's pretty spectacular. Rushing the ball, Anthony Church continues to lead the league. Jeremy Garcia is competing. You also have Charlie McDougal, who's Superman's running back, and then you have John Whiteman. Again, that New York Jets offense is really, really potent right now. Uh, you have Invisible with Maurice Edwards, who's having a great season. Um, and then receiving wise, no shock here that you see Chris Hayes and Adrian Torres up there. The Jets are just putting up a huge amount of yards. Christopher Stein's a little bit of a shock with Cotton, but he's having a great season. David Bittner and Dominic Lee, no one's shocked to see them though. They're both really premier wide receivers. Torres is trying to beat out Bittner for the top receiving touchdowns, and he may just do it, but you can see again, running backs are dominating the points as well. From a tackle perspective, Willis Thornton is leading the league. Harry Battles is right up there, so is Herman Lott. Um, And then sacks wise, Hubert Marquise is having a great season. The guy to keep an eye on Hill, who's starting to get his feet under him now that he's healthy, is Dustin Sousa. Sousa hasn't lost the sack title in like forever. Um, and he's been hurt. He started the season hurt, but he's starting to get that movement going. But Hubert Marquise may be able to hold on to it. Interception wise, again, it's not uncommon to see Barry's cornerbacks uphill or Udo's. So Map ends up there. He's had a pretty good career. I think he's in his second year. Yeah. So last year he didn't have many interceptions, but this year he's breaking out a little bit. And then you have David Leslie, who, despite his speed not being the best in the world, is actually made a pretty good career of himself out of Maryland. So that's kind of where we're at. Be interested to see the next time we do this. New York versus Carolina is a big time matchup. Again, I know that the CPU is saying 3-1 New York, which probably means Kev's going to lose because normally when you see that, the CPU wants Carolina to win. But we'll see how it goes. Two premier coaches going at it. So that's it for now. If you like the video and want to join our league, we have some teams open. I mentioned a couple of them already, which are like Green Bay, Minnesota, Atlanta, New Orleans, Philadelphia, Seattle, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Houston, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Buffalo, Oakland, San Diego, Kansas City. Have a great night, and thank you for watching the video.